Honorable Kay McConney, Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Mrs. Betty Aline Headley, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Mr. Andrew Gittins, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Business Development, Dr. Ida Mae Denny, Director of the Educational Reform Unit, Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw, Chief Education Officer, senior officers and representatives of the Ministry of Energy and Business Development and the Ministry of Energy, Technological and Vocational Training, representatives from the Barbados National Oil Company, principals and students, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Nisha Nurse, and I am the Chief Geologist within the Natural Resources Department of the Ministry of Energy and Business Development. Within the Ministry of Energy and Business Development, we felt it was necessary to formally mark this event as it represents another step in the deepening of the relationship between BHP and the government of Barbados, beyond and outside of what has been strictly mandated within the licenses which were issued through the Barbados Offshore Petroleum Program. BHP, unfortunately, was not able to be here today, but they wish to make a brief statement, and so the following remarks were submitted by the BHP Regional Exploration Manager, Ms. Liz Guiaro, on behalf of the company's management and the team working within the region. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at BHP, our purpose is to bring people and resources together to build a better world. People sit at the heart of our values, and we work together with communities through partnerships that create investment, provide jobs, and generate opportunities for families, towns, regions, and nations. As a team, we at BHP are excited about the handing over of these STEM kits, which hopefully will empower the students who will be receiving them. While it was not possible for us to be with you in person, we are certainly there with you in spirit. In 2021, as some of you may know, BHP safely completed our 3D seismic survey offshore Barbados, which is the first step in our exploration program. At BHP, we operate offshore oil and gas licenses throughout the world, and we rely on sustainable skills in engineering and geoscience, which are dependent on students having adequate skills in science, technology, engineering, and math to prepare us for the challenges ahead. That is why we are pleased to be part of this initiative to hand over these STEM kits to students in Barbados. Truly, this day belongs to the students, as it is on their shoulders that our future will rest. So we certainly wish to thank Ms. Guiaro and the BHP team for their words and support. And the Ministry of Energy and Business Development would wish to point out at this time that as it relates to local content development, specifically within the education sector, BHP has also provided a number of other measures. So there is a combined annual training fee, which is US $300,000. And to date, we have had 6 Barbadian nationals who have been trained. We had some protected species observers and geoscience interns who would have been offered places aboard the seismic vessel during the 3D seismic surveys, which were conducted in November 2021. There have also been funds which would have been provided to facilitate maritime training for representatives from the Division of Fisheries, Barnufo, and the Barbados Coast Guard. There was also a payment of US $300,000 for geotechnical hardware and software. There was a one-time payment again of $300,000 US dollars to the UWI for the creation of an appropriate program or field of study which would be associated with the petroleum industry. 3 scholarships will also be supplied annually, and those will be in the sum of $30,000 US dollars. And this will be during the first 3 years of the exploration licenses. To date, 1 Barbadian student has already been awarded a scholarship, and he is currently pursuing a master's degree in studies related to the petroleum industry. Additional scholarships are also in train to be awarded in 2022. But however, as you would imagine, that we had a few delays as a result of the COVID-19 situation. There's also a combined annual coastal and environmental research fee for $150,000. We are currently in ongoing discussions with local stakeholders in order to determine what the priority areas are going to be for that coastal and environmental research. Again, we have another then contribution of US $75,000, which is going towards internships, study tours, and participation in industry training courses. Now, these 3 internship positions related specifically to the geoscience industry, you'll probably see some advertisements come out within the next few weeks because those will be happening during summer 2022. So we kind of just wanted to give you an idea of what they have been doing generally as it relates to the education sector, as it relates to local content and training and development of Barbadian nationals as they come here to conduct their program. And so it is with this in mind that it is my distinct pleasure to invite the Minister with responsibility for coordinating the productive sectors and the Minister of Energy and Business Development to give his remarks. I will just say that he's unfortunately not here, and so his remarks will be delivered by the Permanent Secretary within the Ministry of Energy and Business Development, Mr. Andrew Gittings.
Honorable Keir McCollin, Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Ms. Betty Allen Headley, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, representative of BHP, Dr. Ramona Archer Bradshaw, Chief Education Officer, Dr. Idame Denny, Director of Educational Reform, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I gladly welcome you this afternoon at the handover ceremony jointly hosted by the Ministry of Energy and Business Development and the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training. You may recall that in January 2020, the government of Barbados issued an offshore license to BHP effective to explore the Caroline Bay and the Bincha offshore blocks in search of carbohydrates. As part of its license commitment, BHP pledged to support local content and educational development in Barbados through the provision of funding for scholarships, training, hardware, software, and coastal and environmental research. Today, in support of the educational development in Barbados, the Ministry of Energy and Business Development is delighted to present to the Ministry of Education, Technological Development and Vocational Training 100 science, technology, engineering, and mathematics kits kindly donated by the BHP. I take this opportunity to publicly thank BHP for their kind generosity. And as was outlined by the director, by our chief geologist, this is all part of what we call local content in which the company is giving back to Barbados. It is hoped that these STEM kits, which are earmarked for distribution to primary school students across the island, will help to increase their understanding of the fundamentals of science and demonstrate the benefits of pursuing careers in the energy sector. Each kit consists of 4 experiments that will introduce students to STEM topics such as magnetic fields, electricity generation, energy conservation, virtual reality, and science. Our ministry is certain that the STEM kits will be greatly appreciated by our young students and their educators who recently returned to face-to-face classes following a lengthy break due to the COVID-19 restrictions. We strongly believe that they will inspire young minds, enhance their technical skills, and encourage them to grasp the many possibilities that will be available to them as they explore the world of science. As outlined in the Barbados National Energy Policy, the government of Barbados is committed to build a diverse, multi-resource energy portfolio that will place the country on a path to becoming energy resilient, independent, and sustainable. Through continued investment in the offshore oil and gas sector and the establishment of strategic partnership with innovative and environmentally conscious companies such as BHP, Barbados can chart a successful energy future, and in doing so, continue to boost socio-economic development in the country. A well-managed offshore oil and gas sector can create opportunities for training and education, research and development of niche skills and services, job creations, and technological developments, which will be critical to ensuring that the country successfully navigate the global energy transition. The Ministry of Energy and Business Development is therefore pleased to partner with BHP on this initiative and look forward to working closely with the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training in nurturing and stimulating today's bright young minds to fulfill Barbados' energy aspirations into 2030 and beyond. I thank you.
Thank you, P.S. Gittins. We now invite the Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, the Honorable Kay McConney, whose ministry graciously consented to host this evening's event and whose officers, particularly Mr. Fernando Carter, would have worked with our own Ms. Toni Q. Harris to pull this together to deliver her remarks.
Good afternoon, all. Because we have these young minds here, I will not say I will adopt protocols as established. I think it's important, even as I spoke to some of the young ones, that they know the people who are part of this. And so I will, and very much I'm pleased to acknowledge the presence of Mrs. Betty Aline Headley, who is the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Mr. Andrew Gittins, from whom you just heard, who is the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Energy and Business Development. I would also like to acknowledge Mrs. Ramona Archer Bradshaw. She's our Chief Education Officer, senior officers of our ministry, as well as representatives from the Barbados National Oil Company Limited, principals and students, the members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. And as I do my acknowledgements, I especially wish to acknowledge some of the young persons who are here from the primary schools that will be receiving some of these kits today. It is our intention that it will be extended to all of the schools in Barbados, the primary schools in particular. However, there are some schools here that I would like to acknowledge: the students from St. Mary's, Katrina de Pisa Skeet, who is the head girl there, as well as Ms. Nancy Haynes, who's the acting principal. Also would like to acknowledge from St. Paul's Primary, Jaden Williams, and Mr. Nigel Richards, who's the science teacher. I'd also like to acknowledge from Welch's Primary, Zaria Beckles, Mr. Jason Paris, the teacher, and Mr. Greg Walters, the principal. And also from Lawrence T. Gay Memorial Primary, Tyja Hines, and Mr. Patrick Clark, who is the principal. Welcome all of you, and good afternoon. My pleasure this afternoon in receiving, on behalf of the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, this donation of kits from BHP in collaboration with the Ministry of Energy and Business Development. It is grounded in what it means to our young minds. It means the broadening of horizons for learning. This donation is quite timely, since we here at the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, we are actively placing increased emphasis on science, technology, engineering, and math, better known as STEM, within our schools. It's part of our drive to promote innovation through education and through the reform that is most forthcoming. We have evidence of how education using STEM can significantly promote meaningful, relevant, and authentic engagement of our students. STEM affords students of all ages and of all stages in their learning development the opportunity to learn using an interdisciplinary approach that is designed not only to provide sound cognitive grounding in the 4 disciplines, but also to build specific competencies, help them to apply skills in a very real world, and to hone their interpersonal capacities. It is in this regard that the utilization of these STEM kits in our existing primary science classes has the ability to maximize the potential of all students, regardless of their ability, their psychological development, or their socioeconomic background. This is consistent with our mission for education in Barbados, where all students have a chance for quality outcomes. The Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, we recognize the need for a paradigm shift in the way that education is delivered in this country. And it is with the need for this necessary shift in mind that a multi-pronged approach is being used to address relevant aspects of the education system as it relates to STEM. To date, we have made strides by introducing coding and robotics into the nursery, primary, secondary, and tertiary curricula. Additionally, in the coming months, we will have an IDB-funded, Inter-American Development Bank-funded pilot project in specific nursery schools that will focus on teaching and learning of STEM using the play-based approach that is making learning fun. And as we look ahead, we are fully aware of the role that teachers must play as open-minded, creative facilitators of learning. We will continue to encourage teachers to include new age technologies such as green technologies in their teaching delivery. And other areas of focus for teachers will include differentiated instruction. What we mean by that is where different students are engaging in different activities at the same time in the same classroom. We also wish to focus on teacher and leadership training, on resource acquisition, and on building of infrastructure and systems to ensure that the teachers are indeed effective in delivering the kinds of outcomes for students that they need to. All of this with the aim of transforming the educational system to enable the development among students of 21st century skills for 21st century living and livelihoods. Simply put, all of that is a big mouthful in educational language, but simply put, we are focused on boosting the authentic student experiences and producing well-rounded teachers free and equipped to be creative in facilitating quality learning and outcomes. The time is not far away when our students, as local creators and innovators, will be contributing technologies that they have developed to aid the functioning of our government and the country as a whole. It is our intention that reform of the education system will produce more technologically savvy students grounded in citizenry who can move from idea to enterprise their homegrown solutions to social, local, regional, and international problems. And I respectfully express my appreciation to the Honorable Kerry Simmons and his team at the Ministry for Energy and Business Development for their ongoing collaboration with our Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, especially in the area of sustainable energy education. Over the last 2 years, the collaboration has borne fruit through the provision of training for teachers, tutors, and educational officers, and through the donation of resources in solar and other forms of renewable energy. And this has been impactful at our tertiary and secondary institutions as well as our primary schools. My ministry is especially grateful for the consultation and collaboration with the global resource company BHP that has led to the acquisition of these STEM kits donated here today. And I can assure you that these resources will be fully utilized to increase students' exposure to new and emerging technologies, to create avenues for innovation, for their critical thinking, for their problem solving and collaboration within and across our school systems. The vision for a world-class modern Barbados is brought closer by partnerships such as this one. And on behalf of the children and the schools of this country, I thank you for helping to bring a brighter future in science, technology, engineering, and math more tangibly within reach. I thank you and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Minister McConney. We are certainly very excited to hear all of the plans that you have as it relates to science and technology training as geologists within the ministry. It always warms our hearts to hear about practical measures and ways in which we can actually get children and persons involved in the industry.
On behalf of the Honourable Carrie D. Simmons, Minister of Energy and Business Development and Senior Minister coordinating the productive sectors, the Honourable K.S. McConney, Minister of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Ms. Betty Aline Headley, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training, Mr. Andrew Simmons, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Energy and Business Development, Dr. Ramona Archer-Bradshaw, Chief Education Officer, Dr. Ida Mae Denny, Director of the Educational Reform Unit, senior officers and representatives of both ministries, representatives from the BNOC, principals and students, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. I'm honored to offer the vote of thanks at this ceremony to formally present the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training with 100 STEM kits donated by offshore licensee and global resource company BHP. Warm gratitude is extended to the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Andrew Gittins, for his thoughtful and enlightening remarks. Thanks also goes out to the hardworking team at the Ministry of Energy and Business Development for helping to make this event possible. Your tireless efforts are acknowledged and appreciated. Sincere thanks are extended to the Minister of Education and Technological and Vocational Training, the Honourable K. McConney, for her kind sentiments. We are also grateful to the Permanent Secretary, Ms. Betty Aline Headley, and the officials from the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training. Your efforts to promote and facilitate educational development in Barbados are greatly valued. May your words provide further inspiration to the young people of Barbados to achieve educational excellence. We sincerely thank BHP for their contribution to the local content development in the island through the kind donation of these engaging and innovative kits. The hands-on experience that they will receive will better assist them in understanding scientific theories and concepts and prepare them to excel in the world that is swiftly moving forward in terms of technological advancement. I would also like to thank the members of the media for taking the time out to cover and broadcast the ceremony today. Your presence will ensure that the Barbadian public is kept abreast of the government's efforts to introduce new educational initiatives and hone greater appreciation and participation in STEM areas. To the young people in attendance and watching this footage, to those of you who will get the opportunity to utilize these STEM kits, may this be one of the catalysts to spark your interest in the field of science and technology. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your attendance here today. Please stay safe and have a great day.